Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I got Mark Keohane with me as always. Mark, how you doing?
Great, thanks Kev. Always lovely to be here on a Monday.
You had some input on the latest SA Rugby Magazine. We've got Pieter-Steph to toy. And he would definitely be the talking point in rugby right now.
Yeah,
Tell me what makes him worth 20 million rand a year.
20, maybe even more, maybe 25 million at the moment. Best player in the world, best player in South Africa. That's consistently been the best player in the world for the last 2 years. He can play 7, he can play 6, he can play 5, he can play 4. And if you listen to the coaches, he could probably play 10 as well. Massive engine on him, great team player, kind of the ideal fit. Doesn't matter where he plays. I've seen all the debate go on, why should he stay in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, when he can command that kind of money? And he saw 3 months ago, there was a potential that he would lose his leg in a freak accident where he got a hematoma, he got a blood clot. It showed him just how quickly his career could end. So people saying, is it a loyalty thing again or not? Nonsense. He will always be available for the Springboks. He'll be good enough to play for them. It would be wonderful for him to stay and play for the Stormers in next year's Super Rugby. But just from a short-term professional career, I think it would be stupid to turn down an offer like that unless he gets the equal for those 6 months in the Western Cape and then wants to go out and play one more season and that his value doesn't get diminished in terms of the contract. But if you've got the reported contracts are between 70 and 75 million rand over the course of 3 years, if you've got that kind of money thrown at you, you take it. You know, it reminds me of Frans Steyn when he was 20 years old. He's won a World Cup. He was on 3 million rand a year in this country and he got offered 3 million euros. And people said, why did he take it? That's why he took it, you know. And with Rassie relaxing the rules and also saying, and being very upfront post the World Cup, saying if he didn't bring back those 5 or 6 foreign-based players, they would never have won the World Cup. I think it's an all-win situation for Pieter-Steph. Feel sorry for Dobbo and the Stormers if they don't get to keep him, but I just don't see how they could keep him.
No chance. It amazes me that we have these debates and you still get these idiots out there that talk about loyalty and all this stuff. Loyalty went out with professional sports probably around 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I know rugby's still in its infancy in terms of a professional sport. Went professionally in '96, but with the money that's been thrown around in Europe, and you've got a rand pound, 23 rand to the pound, 21 rand to the euro, how can you actually keep top players in this country unless it's through 2 or 3 benefactors and their contract here who say for these 3 players we'll keep them in the country, and then what do? That causes division because the rest of the contracted Springboks say, why aren't you putting that kind of money together for me? And if you look in the context of South African rugby at the moment, the big savings plan, 1.2 billion, that Mark Alexander and Yuri Roux announced that they need to save over the next 12 months, 6 months, worst case scenario that they don't play any rugby, and players taking up to a 30-40% cut. He would be in that category that would have taken that cut. That's why he exercised his clause to get out of his contract on the 21-day deadline on Friday, a late Thursday night going into Friday. Why would you take a 40% cut when one of the top clubs in Europe has just offered you 25 million rand a year?
You wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. You know, and I see some of the other players that have left. Malcolm Marx, always going to be one of those players that's going to be in big demand overseas. He was just up front. He said, I just can't resist the kind of cash that they're throwing at me. And I never begrudge any player who's good enough to get those contracts overseas and still has the desire to play for South Africa. And I also think they always come back better players as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think Pieter-Steph, World Player of the Year, one of our modern day greats already. And good luck to him, and I hope he does well. And we'll see him in that Bok jersey when it matters in the Rugby Championship, and most specifically against the British and Irish Lions.
And what do you say to the Lions guy that came out and said that we shouldn't be picking overseas Boks?
Yeah,
isn't it time for that debate?
That debate is long over. What he's trying to do is protect the Lions as a franchise, protect the young players that he's got here, which that ship has sailed. You can't keep players in this country with the rand value anymore. It's just impossible. And if a good 20-year-old can command good money overseas, he'll go overseas, play there for 3 years, keep his options open. So if I was 21, good enough to make a Super Rugby franchise, get that contract, I'd go there. If Rassie Erasmus doesn't pick me in those 3 years, I still have the option of potentially playing for France in 5 years or playing for England in 5 years because of the 5-year rule now. It used to be 3, now it's 5. But if you're good enough over there and you're one of the best in the world, he's going to pick you, as he showed with Cheslin Colby when he was the star in Europe. He picked him for the box and he was a star for us at the World Cup and leading into the World Cup. So it's an all-win situation for the very best. Those that are moaning or bemoaning it, they may be in that second category. Not quite good enough to get that big contract overseas, and a little bit annoyed that their salary's been cut in the context of financials in rugby in South Africa and the rest of the world at the moment.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, Marcus. Best of luck to Pieter-Steph. What a great servant he's been for South African rugby, and hopefully he continues to be a servant. Let's hope that we don't get into a situation 4 years down the line where overseas box are banned, because then I think we will become a third-tier team.
Well, you know, they say that what man doesn't learn from, the only thing man learns from history is that he doesn't learn from history. And it was there when we denied.
That's very deep.
Yeah, when we on this Monday, when we denied coaches actually picking the very best, regardless of geographics, we were 7th in the world and struggling. And
we were losing to Italy, bud.
We were losing to Italy. We had lost to Japan. We were getting knocked over by Argentina. Yeah. It was ugly. It was messy, and we couldn't.
You were getting pummeled by Wales.
I was going to say we couldn't buy a win at Wales, let alone buy a ticket. If anything, that it showed when we got to the World Cup, we finally broke that dude, and only just in beating a very good Welsh team. So Springbok rugby won't be affected. I understand that the regions will be slightly affected, but it also throws into the discussion pot the value of Super Rugby, the kind of way we look at Super Rugby, what's a feeder competition, and kind of what is the strength of our local teams.
Yeah. And just, I want to touch on Lions tickets. Some people have phoned me from overseas, some friends. I've heard some other friends chatting and saying, yeah, their friends have just got tickets. What are you saying for anybody that's actually sitting there or believing that they've got a British Lions ticket in their hand?
Well, I think they've lost their money. So spoke to Mark Alexander, and I see he did put out a statement this morning, which is on SARugbymag magazine and other media channels, to caution people against buying tickets now, to say they're illegal tickets because they don't even exist. So we don't even know if the tour is going to start in July, the original schedule. If there's a delay, it will probably start later September. It will definitely happen next year. So they have to wait for World Rugby to see how their season has got to be restructured. But the ballot was originally going to open in April. The ballot will now potentially open in September. A ballot means you've got to register first, and those registration sites are all over rugby and sports online channels. You register to go into the pot, then in September the ballot will open, and you kind of apply for the certain games you want to get to. Yeah. You then get told that you get the tickets or you don't get the tickets, and that's how it works in the ballot online system. What's happening at the moment is people are being conned by companies who are saying they've got the tickets already and charging £200-300 for a ticket that potentially will be £100 or £50 when it comes out. And these people are thinking, I've actually got the ticket. I mean, I know some of our colleagues here have friends in Ireland who bought tickets for a Cape Town match that may not start in July, it may only start in September, and a category that hasn't been announced for a price that is absurd given the category that was put to it. So Mark Alexander was emphatic to say, you have been warned, follow the processes, register, and everything will be legal, and they'll announce when you can go in and purchase a ticket. But any ticket that's going to be purchased now just doesn't exist, and then it's going to be a fight between whoever you purchase it from and yourself to actually get your money back. Yeah, so people, be warned, be careful. Unfortunately, this world's still full of scamsters, and don't avoid buying those tickets unless you've gone through a proper process. Yeah, and just go onto the SA Rugby magazine websites, go onto Sport24 and IOL, Times Live, they're all there. Easy. Go to SA Rugby magazine first and register to kind of be in the mix. Yeah, huge excitement still around that Lions tour. There is, but there's also just a sense of, come on, let's get sports back on. Let's just start getting back and living life. Yeah, and you get more and more in the last week. I've felt that when you see the lack of hysteria now in the UK, especially because they lead the hysteria band. Okay, is they've gone from they don't know if the world will open again till the tubes are going to be running by 100% next week, and football will be back and rugby will be back. probably by June. And you know, the first ones, the Liga, the Bundesliga, they were back over the weekend.
Yeah.
The guys played. They got through it. They said it was like a training drill, like a ghost town, but they played the games.
Yeah.
And I think more and more as it gets integrated, we'll see that. The one thing Altman Ellis did say is, why can't you, if a 60,000 seater, why can't you have 6,000 people at that game with physical distancing? Because if you're traveling on a tube or you're traveling in public transport, there is a kind of distancing that they're trying to apply to the mix, even though it doesn't work. Why does it have to be a blanket, no spectators? Why can't it be per capita in terms of what your stadium takes and who you can let in? Just to have some form of thing there. If we went like that, the Bulls would have a capacity crowd every weekend. 3,000 or 5,000 would be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think sooner rather than later, hoping to see good sport and especially see good rugby.
Yeah.
Starting with the Kiwis, 13th of June.
Can't wait.
And on that, Bowden Barrett gets back to, from lockdown, he gets back to training.
Yeah.
And he breaks the fitness record over 20, 40, 60 meter sprints.
Well, I should
shuttles.
hope so, Mark. How much rest has he had?
Obviously shows he's got a big plot if he's going past 60 meters the whole time. But it's interesting to see him come back, and he's got a lot to prove. And we spoke about it last week. First match back against his brother and against his old mates at the Hurricanes. Saw a wonderful quote from him in the week, and he said, look, he knows if that first tackle gets made and Dane Coles is on top of him, he's going to get more than a verbal from him, and he's expecting it. So he's expecting to be roughed up when they do play, and he says he wouldn't want it any other way because they were really annoyed that he had gone to the Blues. Yeah, and then just looking at what's been going on the social media and that, a nice little element is Percy Montgomery.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah, he's got that beautiful house that he does rent out.
Yep.
15 views in Camps
I've
Bay.
had the pleasure of having a couple of dining sessions there.
Yes, I think you also walked on water the one time. I remember you were in the pool and out the pool, and people did think you were Jesus as you walked across. Saved everything on your way through. But he's got that fantastic museum within the home, and 102 test matches, 350 first-class games, played for Sacs first team for 2 years, SA Schools Province. He's got every single jersey that he played in.
Yeah.
And on those games when he was in the test side where they had two, he'd occasionally give one away. But he has kept every jersey from his first team Schools jersey all the way through boots that he played in matric, as he felt that was the stuff that he had earned the right to wear on the field, and he'd never given it away willy-nilly. And he's really got this wonderful, wonderful display. And he's been posting 40 seconds to a minute clips, just talking people through his career, thanking the people who have contributed to it, and just showcasing his jersey. So if you go on to SA Rugby's YouTube channel, you'll see those videos there. If you go into Monty's Twitter and Instagram feeds, they'll also be there. But a nice little sidebar during these times where everyone's picking their best 15s, best 23s, and favourite players.
Well, thanks for that, Mark, and I look forward to watching one of those.
Thanks, mate. And hopefully we'll have more to report on conditioning and fitness next week.
Yeah, I hope so. Cheers, bud.